Mr. Baloch, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, UNHCR has called for an end to the conflict. Can you tell us as to what your primary concerns are?
UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, for decades after the Second World War, has been dealing with the consequences of war and conflict. And we know what conflict does to ordinary people, and our fears in this dangerously spiraling conflict are based for the humanity, for civilians. So we at UNHCR, our High Commissioner Filippo Grandi has joined the UN Secretary General and other world leaders in asking for a de-escalation. This has been now going on for days, and already we have seen what this conflict has done on both sides, in Israel and Iran as well. That's why, for the suffering of humanity to stop, this has to de-escalate and peace be given a chance.
What do you think from the experience of the UNHCR can be done at this moment by the two parties and also the international community?
We have already seen that the conflict and continuing attacks have resulted in population movements on both sides. In Iran, we have seen, or there are reports of mass population movement outside of Tehran and other places. Some reports that they may be going towards international borders as well. In Israel, we have seen people seeking shelter. What needs to happen now is civilian population, civilian infrastructures should be spared. People should be given a chance, some respite, in a sense that this conflict does not escalate any further. And as my High Commissioner, UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, said, that the region has already seen enough of war, of loss, of destruction. We cannot allow, the world cannot allow and afford another refugee crisis now. I mean, just last week, we issued our global displacement figures. There's a report which we call the Global Trends Report that UNHCR issues every year. There we were saying that already people who have been forced out of their homes and country, that number is 122 million, which has doubled in the last 10 years. We do not need more human suffering in this world.
One of the things about Iran that is very unique, it is a place that is already having 3.2 million refugees. By the way, a lot of them were originally coming from Afghanistan. It was also refugees coming from earlier military crises and also wars. So how do you see Iran's capability now to still handle these refugees while it itself is in a crisis in the war?
Indeed, and the updated numbers as we issued last week is 3.5 million registered refugees. Iran also had a big chunk of Afghan population who are not registered. So Iran has been traditionally a very generous host country for refugees. The people of Iran have been really kind because let's not forget, most of these refugees who are Afghans, as you mentioned, are in the urban centers. Iranians have been sharing resources, their resources with them, their social infrastructure from education to health and everything else. With the Iranian population and the people of Iran, we are also worried about Afghan Afghans there, because this is affecting them alike, like they're hosting communities. And we know about the situation inside Afghanistan right now. It has been a humanitarian crisis for many decades. Things are not settled down for mass return of refugees at this stage. In last few years, we have seen around 3 million Afghans that returned from Iran and Pakistan. Many went back under pressure, and we, UNHCR, which is an operational humanitarian agency having presence all around the region, we saw that returnees were struggling, the infrastructure was struggling, and also the humanitarian response that we want to put in place is not the same. So we cannot expect Afghans to return and restart their lives in a way that it's not their own decision, and it's also a country that many young Afghans have not known. They were born while they were refugees in the neighboring countries and beyond.
One after another, we see military conflict started. Well, the relevant parties are not necessarily playing responsible roles in the aftermath of it. And as we know, when it comes to conflicts and wars, it's not just about the military strikes toward each other, but rather the humanitarian crisis that followed. Now, how much role do you think those in conflict should play in terms of settling down the humanitarian crisis? And by the way, not to start it from the very beginning.
That's what the ask is. It's very hard once a conflict starts, once mass movement starts, when people are forced out their homes because of a conflict, then to bring in peace. And we have seen that the world has struggled. The world has struggled big time. I mean, in recent days, the only bright spotlight that we saw recently was Syria, with 2 million former refugees plus others who were displaced. They could go back. High Commissioner Filippo Grandi right now is in Syria to meet those people and asking for support. But many other places, we have seen it. Sudan is a hotspot. Myanmar is a hotspot. Ukraine is a hotspot. You look all around, we have seen many other situations. Afghanistan hasn't settled down for the last 4 decades. The world knows, or they should know, that probably easy to start a conflict, but then going back to restore peace takes much more effort and resources, and the human suffering that comes with it is unimaginable.
Now, you earlier mentioned this, but I do want to highlight, as the world is becoming ever more fragmented, we see the credibility, rhetoric against the credibility of international organizations such as the UN system. So how do you see your role and others' role at this point to try to play your humanitarian hand at a time when the credibility had been undercut by some of the rhetorics, at least?
It's quite worrying indeed, but what the world is forgetting, that humanitarian agencies like UNHCR after the Second World War, we did not come into being on our own. The countries, the members of the UN gave us a mandate because what they saw the consequences of the Second World War, and say there needs to be an agency which needs to help people who become refugees and who become displaced. And the talk is always there, the misinformation is always there. But when the world see the work we do, The difference when we are in the locations, in the remote locations of the world, when there is no one for us to stepping forward, either with local communities, with local authorities, and restore the dignity, restore the lives of millions of people, the work tells for itself. But yes, there are noises, there are voices, but the humanitarian work is a noble tradition. We keep reminding people, for a human being, let's step back. And when we see someone, another human being, who's in pain, who needs help, irrespective of what background, what we have, we don't have, we will step forward to support. That humanity is not damaged, has not gone away yet.
We understand the latest news, sir, from the Chinese side. The foreign ministry spokesperson already spoken out, condemning the bombing of the nuclear sites, which has been under the monitoring of IAEA. Meanwhile, calling on Israel to stop the firing and also the military actions. At the same time, try to make sure the civilians are secured and start negotiations for peace and dialogue as well. Now, how much do you think this call can be echoed in the international community, including among those in the UN system?
It's a very welcome call. Let's hope sanity prevails. Let's hope people listen. And that's why we at UNHCR, we are a humanitarian organization. We don't have a political mandate. We deal with the consequences of the failure of the politics. So for us, we join every voice which says that the situation has to be de-escalated.
All the best to your people on the ground, especially there on the site. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.